Come on, Speedy Gonzalez, let's see what you got.
Yeah. Do you miss it? The Philippines.
Of course, it was my home, but I did what was best for you.
You can vibe with me this weekend. I'm going to the Filipino festival.
I got my family. I got my family.
Ilan taong ka na?
Oh, he doesn't speak Tagalog yet, but I'm working on it.
So what are you then, Chico?
It's like everybody expects me to know who I am and be a historian or something. Let me tell you something.
JP, man.
Boom, there you go. That was the trailer for FilAm, a great short film that's touring the festival circuit. Please check it out. But to talk all things FilAm and also himself, I have the director, the writer, Tony Marquez. It's your boy Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. And of course, it's the ShoPowSho. So of course, I got to bring it to you and do it the right way. It's the Adobro, the Babinka boy, the leader of the Hala Hala homies in the center gang. Your boy Kuya P. Excited to get this in. As y'all know, we've been kind of here and there with the ShoPowShos. Love to the amazing Ates, Tina, and oh my gosh, why am I spacing on my other Ate? You know I love you, girl. I'm sorry right now. I'm all over the place. You know how it is. You're in Japan right now, so you've been missed, and now I'm starting to miss you so much that I can't even remember your name. I'm sorry, homie. I love you. And Tina, she's doing her thing with the board game circuit and all that. My love to Tina, but gosh, I can't really. I'm forgetting your name right now, Ate. I love you, Mahakita. But today's guest, to remind me how important it is to remember everybody and remember ourselves. That's, I think, an underlying theme of his short film. We're going to know all about his story. I'm going to pin him in just a second. Can't wait to talk to this young brother. Amazing talent. There you go. He's on the screen right now. Tony Marquez, director, writer of FilAm. Air horns are going off right now, Tony. It's in post, so you don't got to worry about me deafening you right now, because I know you got a lot of work to do. I don't want to do that. Welcome, my brother. How are you?
Yo, Kuya P, thanks for having me. I can hear the horns. Pew, pew, pew. No, I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you so much. Much love for the ShoPowSho. When I saw that first on Instagram, ShoPowSho, I was like, that is an amazing pun. If y'all don't know, ShoPow is Filipino buns. It's so good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. You know what? I'm gonna ask you since you know ShoPow. It's all about food, and you actually touched upon it a little bit in FilAm. So I'm going to have something to just put in the back of your head until we get done with the interview. If you were to pick one of our foods, what would it be? Because, like I said, I'm the Adobro, the Babinka boy, the leader of the Hala Hala homies in the Center Gang of the ShoPowSho. What would you be a part of? Would you be part of the Center Gang? Would you be Kare Commandos? I don't know. But hold that thought for later. I want to know what would be your I just thought of the Tocino Titos.
The Tocino Titos, that might be the one.
There you go.
That might have to be
I won't hold you that. I won't hold you on that one. We'll find out later if you're still part of the Tocino Titos team or the Longaniza Lovers. I don't know, because I'm part of all of that. Real talk. Anyway, Tony, man, thank you again for your time, brother. This has been a while coming. We've been communicating back and forth. Actually, you're asking how kind of like we connecting, because it's all an amazing FilAm community on the socials, which I love so much. It's been such a help and a necessity for ShoPowSho. I remembered who it was, although I can't even remember my own Ate, who's part of my show, which I'm tanking right now and feeling so bad. But the Top Back Podcast, I think, brought me in. Shout out and mad love to the Top Back Podcast, another great FilAm podcast over on the West Coast. So shout out to them. But Tony, man, it's a pleasure to meet you virtually and wax and show you love for what you're doing, man. First things first, before I kind of get into my regular format and talk about you and show you mad love about what you're doing and what you're doing for the community, I want to talk things FilAm. Earlier today, I got a chance finally to check it out. I've been meaning to check it out at the festivals, and all of y'all, man, go check it out when you hear that FilAm is premiering in a festival near you. You're gonna want to check it out. Is that project? I really want to show love and light because I think it's so important to get films about us and represent us in that unique experience that is, because it's hard, just like what the character goes through in the film, of knowing self, but then also feeling bad about self and all that whole self-discovery. I know it's kind of based in your story a little bit, and we'll get into your story, but tell me the seeds of FilAm and how it came to be.
Yeah, man. So, I'm a filmmaker, actually originally from the DMV like you. And one of the things out there that really connected me with the Filipino culture was basketball, number one sport in the Philippines. The FIBA World Cup was just in Manila this year. But I was part of the organization FABA, if you're familiar with, the Filipino American Basketball Association, in the DMV. And then I was just working, steady grinding out here in LA when I first moved out. And then there's just been like a plethora of like different films for like South Korean and like, Japanese, all of that. And then I started thinking of like, damn, like, that's really dope for the Asian community, but I'm still not seeing like a lot of like Filipinos out there. And I think we're trending in the right direction. Like I saw some like ube ice cream like in Trader Joe's the other day. I'm seeing like our stuff out there, but I wanted to make a film for us. And it was actually a long journey of like different script revisions and things like that. Because I wanted to put like some history involved. And I wanted to put like, different characters with like love and stuff. Cause that's a big topic in the Filipino household too, like dating and stuff, and like the ates and titas gossiping and stuff like that. But in terms of FilAm itself, I had to like kind of bring it all together and shorten it, because when I was writing, like there's a ton of stuff that we could say, right? Like for your story is probably different from my story, and then my sister's story is different from mine. So then like it became to actually create the project within our means and our budget, we had to, make it a little more cohesive, tighten it, shorten it, and find that like balance between everything that I want to say and what truly it meant for me personally to be like Filipino American in this day and age. So that's how it kind of happened. We went through different script revisions. It was a lot bigger to start with, started cutting it down, and then it just became like my story pretty much.
I feel that. So was it like a writing session on your own, or was it writing session with a group of other mutual creatives? I'm curious because there's like so many real nuggets, which I appreciate. Like, I think I even saw them dipping their finger into the water while making the rice. Just all those little isms that is our culture and representative of our culture. You were able to fit that in there, which is so beautiful. So I'm just curious. So was it like around the table and like, okay, we got to have this, just kind of like jotting bullet points and then writing together? If you could tell me about that a little bit, that pre-pro element right there.
So the writing process was pretty interesting because, so I went to George Mason, up in Virginia. I established a good writing partnership with my friend Micah McFarlane, who is white. He's a white guy. And then I was taking all these different elements, and I asked him, I was like, hey, he specialized in script writing. I was coming up with this story idea with like a treatment, full on like, beat for beat of everything that I wanted. And then I was talking to him, and it was a very interesting process because, he is full on like white American, like not like into everything that we're talking about. But we had to kind of like come to a medium in terms of, hey, is the heart of the story working? I had to like kind of introduce him to some themes and everything. And it was like an interesting thing to talk to him about it so that I could like envision a broader audience coming to relate to what the story is. But then the central thing of like the story itself, like we talked about earlier, is about self, knowing who you are and, being comfortable in that, which I think a lot of my other friends who aren't Filipino, whether they're like Black or Spanish or something, just something, about fitting in, could relate to. So that was kind of the overall process. Then I went to my cousins, my mom, and like my other Filipino friends to like, yo, can you read this? Can you read that? and like what do you think? How could I like incorporate or sprinkle, you know, our culture in there so like it could be seen on screen and stuff like that. And you picked up on the rice with the water and everything, because I was on set and like, you know, things can go wrong or you could fall behind on things, and you know, it was a time crunch, and like I was telling like my DP and crew members like, no man, like we have to get this shot, like I'm putting this in the edit. If they know, they will understand.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. So got the family involved, everybody to just kind of chime on that. That's beautiful, you know, and especially if you want to make it as authentic as possible. But love to our allies. You know, you had your partner who may not be Filipino, but you know, is willing to learn with you to inject the culture in there and just, you know, so always important and to show proper respect both ways around, and also to get that crossover audience so that way other people can learn about our culture is so important. That's awesome. So we're getting the script together. You finalize script. Tell me, let's stay in that pre-pro, getting everybody together. So you have the scripts. Talk to me about, you know, so all these other filmmakers, young filmmakers out there as well can know, you know, because a lot of us will get to that script point, but then give up, you know, sometimes, you know, so just, you know, getting the talent available, you know, whether you put out like calls or whatever, how long it took to film. Let's go into the pre and then actual production of FilAm.
Man, so like getting the actors was so it was, honestly, I was lucky to find all of them, and it was very like happenstance, because I'm out here in LA. I've been like PAing, you know, just in different shows and stuff like that, and then I would come across a Filipino actor, and they had like a guest star or supporting role, and then our lead actor was just like a background actor on one of the shows. But you know, we connect, we see each other, we start talking, we're like, yo, what's up, blah blah blah. And then you talk about what we're talking about, like, yo, we want more representation. We want to see ourselves on screen. So we connect on Instagram, like us and everything. And it was just a tool of like, hey, like I'm making this project and I would love for you to be involved, or like in some aspect or another. Can you like read this portion? So like the actors who I got, actually, they've been involved in the pre-pro and script writing for like a minute too. So they were also chiming in, and like the one who plays the sister, her name's Coel, like she was in it for the long haul. The same with the barber, the like, you know, the Kuya in there.
Yeah.
Like
shout out to Carlin. Carlin's actually part of a actors group in LA that I'm a part of. Shout out to the FilipinX actors Barkada, Fab.
Yeah, Carlin, man, that was my guy. Like he was the first person I met, actually.
So
long ago, man, and like we've been just talking about it. So it was a long process, and like the actors, because of what the story is, like they've been involved for so long. And I want to say, like, again, I was lucky that I've been working on sets and I just found them and we connected. So I think the story that I could tell young filmmakers is just like networking, man. Like anywhere you go, you know, it's a hustle, it's a grind. So, you know, just like talk it up, chop it up like we are right now. And like, you never know who you could meet. You never know what like you could learn from the next person, what that person can bring onto your project. So like, just network, just be kind with everybody, you know, and like if you have the shared interest and everything, like it'll come into alignment, you know, like if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. And just like find the right pieces that make it work.
Oh yeah, completely agree. Never stop networking, never stop learning. I think that's key. No matter how long I've been in the industry, you don't know everything, and you could always learn to do better. You know right. What might have worked for you before, you could. There's a better way to do it. Honestly, in a lot of different ways. So love that. Pro tips, y'all. Pro tips. Thank you, Tony. All right, so we went from pre-pro to production. Well, let's head into a little bit production. You got everybody. You got all these amazing actors. Your crew. How was putting it together? How long did it take? Was it like a week or two? You know, tell me about the actual production of the short. You know, were you like editing while you were working? You know how like we edit in our minds and stuff as we're recording stuff. Like, was there anything that differentiated from the initial script to, actual during production that you could, we have to cut this shot because of time or location, or actors' time? There's a lot of different factors, as we know. It's juggling a lot of balls when you're filming. Tell me about the actual production.
Right. Well, first I feel I gotta shout out some of the orgs that like really made it happen.
Oh yeah, SIPA.
SIPA
and more. SIPA and more. I know there's more.
Yeah, SIPA, One Down Media was in there. Jewel City Barbers Club. They got some Filipinos cutting hair in there and everything. So like all those organizations like really helped out. And I want to say like one thing of the film, like indie filmmaking process, is like getting the money, the funding and everything. That's tough. And we did a crowdfund. We got a pretty successful crowdfund, and I have to shout out the like Filipino organizations out there, like the ones we just mentioned, SIPA, One Down, FilAm Arts. They were super supportive and everything. Like I went out to the events. I was meeting everybody, and this project itself was really like self-reflective for me to like, because when you're in the hustle and grind, sometimes you're just like working, but then to be like, yo, the community is out there. So one thing again for future filmmakers is just like finding your people, finding your voice, and like there are people out there who want to help. So those organizations, they like put it on their social media, they put it on like their email listservs, like Tony Marquez making this story about Filipino American culture, and like I received donations from people who I've never met before, and we sold these shirts and hats, and people were invested, so that was great. And then to go back into the question at hand, like the filming production of it was great too, because if you saw that festival scene, that was a SIPA held event, and I would not have known how to film that otherwise. Like that would have been super expensive to like create a whole event with like performances and the food vendors and everything like that. So shout out to them again. Like they were like come to the event, film, do your thing. Everyone's just gonna like come support that. And they put us on their flyer for the AAPI monthly yearly event. So that was awesome. And like I said, Jewel City Barbers Club, they let us shoot at their barber shop for free. That's actually where I get my haircuts, so I'm actually like overdue a little bit, but but shout out to them. They're in Glendale, California. They're a great shop. So yeah, in terms of production, shooting wise, the only things I could say is like COVID was a thing at that time.
Oh yeah.
Filming during that
work.
That was hard, had to figure all of that out. One of the actors, I won't say who, got COVID like day before shooting, so we had to like reshuffle schedules. Linda, who plays the mom, was actually from the Bay, so like we had to like figure out her flight plan because we changed it up with the whole COVID situation. So with shooting, man, there's always there's always something changing. You always gotta stay on your feet and toes. Like it was hard, but it was always fun because, like I said, like the actors have been involved for a minute. The crew that we had like involved, they're like young filmmakers who like I kind of came up with, and they've been involved in it. So it was an overall good experience just to like, roll with the punches kind of deal. And like something was changing up. Everyone understood that this was a small indie production and we had to do what was necessary, to get it done.
So I love that everybody came together to make it happen, man, and understood the assignment and, it's what it is, but that there was love there for it all to be a common dream amongst you all. That's beautiful, man. I'm glad you brought up the scene with SIPA, where it was actually one of their events in a way, right? Because as a producer, and on an indie budget, if you didn't have that connection, to recreate that would have been expensive. I think we all know that, right?
Yeah.
As producers.
Yeah.
So you lucked out to tie it to an event. So as a pro tip to all y'all other filmmakers watching this right now, work with a organization that you could kind of do it. So I would assume, and this is my question here, is in order to have facilitate for that to happen, Tony, was it like, did they like you had to do it like really early before like event? Because I'm curious, because you have all these people trying to attend, right? Was there like a special timing that you had to do? So like for cats that want to do this as well, recreate a scene and use that at an event. How did you work that on a producer standpoint?
Yeah, so the first part of that scene where they're like entering and they see the tent booth and everything, that was actually the end of the event. Like people were loading out. So in a way it looked empty and we just like made it like, oh, everyone's starting to come in, but it was actually the event was over. The montage scene for all the B-roll and everything, that was just, that was the event was happening. We were just like in it going on. And the thing with like COVID, it was on the tail end of COVID. So like the mask restrictions were over, but there are still people in masks. So a lot of the heavy crowded stuff that we shot, there were some people who had masks on. So unfortunately we couldn't use like everything that we had because I didn't want that to be in. But then the scene where they're actually talking and going into it, yeah, that was like the setup. Everyone was setting up. It was still a little emptier, but we did have to do ADR, which is fine. That was another thing for the sound, but we were able to shoot it and hear it, but we just, for that crisp spot, we just did some ADR. But like, yeah, they were down to work with us when they were doing like their audio tests for the event early on. When we shot that scene, they would be like, all right, so this performer is done. You have like a 30-minute window before the next performer. So we were just like shooting this direction and then kind of like wait, listen to this the next performer do their audio test, and then they're like, all right, you got like 20 minutes, and we're like, okay, we'll change direction, let's shoot this, and then wait. So yeah, I mean, it was indie production. It was fun. Hell
yeah, dude, I love that. It's even though I'm sure we both work on big productions down to the small, our own productions,
right.
And budgets are always different. So, there's pro tips that I think will really help that young independent filmmaker that's trying to come up or trying to get into this business, that if we can impart knowledge, throw it at them, don't give up. There's ways. Go to your, like you said, you hit up your local barbershop and they blessed you with letting them use your space. Work your, going back to what you said earlier, networking, work your contacts. You know what I'm saying? Don't abuse your friends. Let's not do that. But just tell them what you're doing. And if they're about it, man, you can make so many things happen and make it look so good. But yeah, that kind of caught my eye. I was like, okay, yeah. I'm curious. And then well, I saw like with the SEPA partnership. Okay, they worked a little something there, so that was dope. But all right, you knocked the film out, man. Beautifully funded by amazing people that believe in you and believe in your dream, which is always such a blessing. What has the reception been post? Before reception, post production. You wrapped on the project. You filmed it all. Did it change in the editing? Because sometimes it isn't always what it is when you even get to the editing stage. It actually works itself out in there, and certain threads become different. What was that like? When you finally sat down and put it all together, how long did that take you? And then going into just your people, your team seeing it, and then the reception from the viewers seeing it at the festivals.
Yeah, man. No, I would say I was pretty lucky that we got all the coverage that we wanted. Like I said, the team really rallied behind it and we got everything that we needed. So the editing process was pretty quick. Like it was pretty streamlined. We got what we wanted. We just kind of mapped it out. I think the tough parts of post was, like I said, we did have to do ADR for that scene, which I actually haven't done before. I did go to film school and everything, but I just I've never actually had to do it. So that was cool. I just had to like talk to some, sound buddies who I've made friends with and be like, hey, can you talk me through this? Like, what should I do to like, fully, make it better for the actor?
That's beautiful though. It's always very important to pick up. We should learn from every production. So do you feel like you know that now? Like, or you could, if you had to,
it's like, all right, cool. Like I know for next time and how to go about it, who to talk to, what to do. And, I'd say this is a funny thing. I'm not sure if they have this maybe in like DC or Georgia, like maybe one of the more artsy places, but like there's a camera operator who is on there. Her apartment is like, she's in the North Hollywood Arts District, and it's like a apartment for like artists, I guess. And in there they had a recording booth, and I'm like, I always walk by when I'm like hanging out and stuff, and I never see anyone in there. And I was just like, hey, how do we get in there? And she's like, I just have to talk to management. So we got a whole like recording booth studio to ourselves for like an afternoon. It was just about getting the sound gear again, getting the actors to come in and manage their schedules. So yeah, I mean, I lucked out. I really did. But again, it was a learning process to do that. And then the coloring took a while. Cause like I said, for all of the outside stuff, pretty much all of the exterior stuff, the sun changing, we only had limited time to shoot one direction versus the other. So coloring to make everything match, that took a long time. And the colorist who I used, he's a young colorist. He mostly does like promotions and behind the scenes stuff, but giving him a short film, you know, again, for like other filmmakers, like find the people who are hungry too, you know, like who are, you know, maybe at your level, maybe a little above, maybe a little below, but like giving him the opportunity to be like, hey, this is like a short narrative piece. Like, I know you mostly do like behind the scenes or something. He was like, give me a shot at it, you know? So shout out to him, you know, like he did a great job. He got something to do and get to learn and like elevate himself. I got to watch what he was doing and be like, man, you know, that's something new for my eyes as a director. And I should say, like, when I was a film student, you know, sometimes we get into the habit of like, I'm going to do this all myself because I have to like, and you get trapped with the budget. But like sometimes you, as a director, you have to start delegating, like this person is specializing in color, this person specializing in sound. So I'm like, you know, like, let me hand it off to them, but let me just give my 2 cents of what I want. And then like, it's a collaborative process. You have to learn to speak their language, you know, so that they understand and that they get the story and stuff like that. So that was like a good learning process for me too, to just be like, all right, assignment. Now let's get it together.
Hell yeah. Oh man, you got to trust in your team.
Yeah.
I know I can be a control freak. That's one of the biggest lessons that we all have to learn. As perfectionists as we can be, as control freaks that we can be, you have to trust and know in your team and who you have around you. They wouldn't have gotten involved if they didn't want to do a great job their damn self, you know? So trust and respect your people that you build around you, and let go. I know it can be hard,
right.
But that was one of the long lessons for myself as well, brother. But yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh, and I got a shout out to the music on there. All the music in there was all original. So I worked for the first time, Mikey V. He's from the Bay Area. He was also on Top. I don't know if you might have caught him at some point, but he's a Filipino American, you know, hip hop artist in the Bay, and we actually connected at a much earlier festival long ago. And I worked with him, and it was the first time I worked with like a music artist to be like, let's bring some like original songs to life, like for this film. So like sending him scripts and sending him cuts after cuts in the edit, and then him sending me like some sample beats, and then being like, this is what I'm writing right now. And then having that come together was like a new process. And shout out to him. He made this original music. The song Family by Mikey V, that's like on all streaming platforms, like that was all him. And I loved it. I thought that was a great.
Hell yeah. Dope. Just it's another also creative way to promote the film and promote the artists themselves that are contributing to the film. It's a hand-in-hand collaboration with each other to get the word out on both paths, what he's doing with music and what you're doing with the film. That's dope, man. Shout out to Mikey B. All right. So you put it all together, the reception, people are feeling it. So yeah. We went into post, but I don't know if we talked about the reception when everybody got to lay his eyes on, when Mikey got to see his work in the film, when Carlin, everybody looked at it, and now, you know, hitting the festival circuit, y'all. And again, I'll have the in IG for FilAm movie in the description below. So make sure you do all the follows. Support Tony. We want to give him love and all the projects he's going to do. And if you want to see it as well, again, it'll be in the description so you can go check him out. So what has that feedback been from everybody checking it out, seeing their work, all that love that you poured into it come a reality?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a great so far. I think at this moment in time where we've hit our 11th film festival in the United States. And we just had our first like bigger screening here at the Studio City Film Festival in LA, where like the cast and crew got to come together. And prior to that, my producer, Allison Reyes, she's out here with Vision Ray. That's like the company she's trying to make. She hosted like a private screening for the cast and crew and rented out a theater and did a little red carpet. It was nice. But I think everyone has just been very like receptive of it, seeing all these Filipino actors on screen all at the same time, talking about it. And, you know, I think it's just been like a nice thing, like you said, just to see subtleties in there, like the rice and all the food and just some of the dialogue that they'd see that.
Oh yeah, the mom saying you get back inside because you don't want to be too dark. Man, the colorism thing has always been a thing.
Oh
We've talked a lot about it on the ShoPowSho.
Yeah, because that's the thing, man, and we've all grown up with it, and it's just like, whoa, mom, you can't be saying that for real. Like, so yeah, I mean, like a lot of things that picked up on, like, oh, so like that line, especially when I was in the theater with a bunch of like strangers watching it, like it got the gasps, it got the laughs. And I think it was good, you know. So just want to keep riding this festival wave and just get more eyes on it.
Hell yeah, we're gonna make that happen, y'all. Please support my man Tony Marquez. Again, links are in the description below. So before we now get into your story, I think the perfect way to make that transition, and I put my Filipino Barbara Walters hat on to put it on you to know your story is what does FilAm mean to you? Obviously, you know, we talked about the production, pre-pro, post actual, you know, writing it. But now that it's all been out there, you're doing it. When you're talking to other people, what does FilAm mean to you now? And the message from FilAm.
I mean, it's crazy, man. Just like looking back at the process of it all and everything. Like I said, it was like it was once a bigger story just coming together, and it was very self-reflective, and it allowed me to reach back out into the community out here in Los Angeles, because bringing it back to the basketball stuff, like I said, like I really got into the Filipino community back in Virginia through playing basketball and going through like dance events. I used to be the guy doing the tinikling at like these cultural events and stuff. Wearing the barong Tagalog and everything. My mom and dad, shout out to them, like, you know. But it was one of those things too. So like for me, like I don't speak Tagalog. I never learned, unfortunately. My mom and dad in our household, we actually spoke Ilocano a lot. But sometimes, you know, when you meet everybody else, it's just like automatic Tagalog. Or do you speak it? And I'm like, no. And then, you know, like I don't want to say that I was being judged, but sometimes like you would feel that way, you know? And then same thing with the like, oh, you're Mexican or something, like not to like, not that I'm trying to be harmful with it, but there are times where, you know, like kids are mean, man. Like I remember being in school and my full name is Antonio Francisco Marquez. Like that is super Spanish. So I got people like looking at me like, oh, well, what are you then? Like when I was growing up. So the story to me is it's just very personal, and to actually see it out there, like it, you know, it just, people don't really know the work that gets put in. You just watch the screen, and then, you know, sometimes at a movie theater, people are leaving after the credits, right? Or during the credits. So for me, it just, you know, it just means so much that people believed in it, that people wanted to fund it and support it. So it's just an important film to me, and I want to see where it can go, and, you know, who else wants to watch it, basically.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, let me tell you, your story is my story, and there's a lot of people that are going to see themselves as well. They're going to feel seen with this film, man, because it's so many of us, especially those of us in the United States, and all the things that you said I can completely relate to. So I just want to share. Well, I want to tell you that I appreciate you opening up yourself to share your story, because a lot of us hold it in and are afraid to do that. So by virtue of being strong enough to do that is going to mean so much to so many people and help so many people. So Tony, man, appreciate you, brother. Mad love to you in that regard, man. Love it. So yeah, let's dig in. I want to know a little bit more. And actually, because it's such a short film, and you even said it for yourself, there's such a bigger story outside of it that got chopped down for just this short film. I'm already challenge you. I'm gonna also challenge you that when we tell this story of yourself, that you're going to be, we're going to cover you right now from like beginning to your current point in life right now. But as you continue on your journey as a filmmaker, man, and the people that I'm sure going to bug you when they see your film at these festivals, they're going to want to see a bigger story. And I think that's all of us as Filipino filmmakers. We want to tell that story. So I'm going to challenge you, like I'm challenging all my other colleagues like ourselves. Let's do it. Let's do whatever we can do to make that happen and support the people that do, because it is like right now, like this film is going to be to some people with just this short film with what you've done. If we can tell an even bigger story, it's going to reach out even wider. And we got to challenge ourselves to do that so we can make that happen for that next generation, man. But I thank you for already what you're contributing to the world now with FilAm. So mad love to you, Tony. All right. Switching hats, same hat, but Filipino Barber World this time, man. I want to know your story. I want to know how you became the amazing cat that you are now. But before we do that, what I like to do is give love to those that came before, because they sacrificed. They did a lot of struggle for us to get to where we're at. And so that's showing love to whether it be mom and dad, aunties, uncles, grandparents, ancestors. I'm also curious if filmmaking creativity is in the DNA. If you can share a little bit of that as we get into your story and then kind of go, block by block, like baby to age 5 to 10. It's kind of like the sequencing of what I do now with these interviews to just get your story and learn more about yourself and have you reflect. I think it's very therapeutic. And it helps us remind us of our journey, and it helps inspires everybody else that's watching as well. So let's start with the seed. Before the seed was put into the earth and the amazing Tony Marquez was put here, what were the people like that of your bloodline before? Is it in the DNA? Let me know. Can you tell me some family stories?
Yeah, man. Like I want to say like it was in the DNA, because I gotta say like there's something in that I'll never understand from my parents, right? Like they came from the Philippines to come to the States early on, and living that lifestyle of having kids and like the upbringing of a new life and a new home and in the States, right? I gotta say there's gotta be some type of creativity and like managing and all of that, right? Like that's mad respect. Sometimes I think you get trapped in thinking of like that's just like business and logistics and stuff like that. But to like navigate like life like that, like there's got to be some type of creativity. And that's something that I have to just like show love and respect to from my parents, because I just will never know what that felt like.
Yeah.
So just to be like,
or they might have had it, but sacrificed themselves to do what they had to do in order to come here. Because I know,
yeah,
like when I talked to my mom, she's like, I wanted to be an actor, whatever, artist, but I had to pay. I had to take care of my brother. I had to take care of my mother. They had to sacrifice in the Philippines with the works just to live.
Yeah. So it's just like a total different aspect of, again, like something I just can't comprehend. But no. So like my mom and dad did the traditional aspect of like what we talked about. My mom's like in the medical field. My dad's an engineer. And of course, those are stable jobs that like, I want to say like every Filipino, almost Asian, like parents want you to do, because like they know that you're going to be all right. So, and then like my sisters are in different fields as well, but no one else in the filmmaking career, no one else in the quote unquote arts. I'm the one who left the nest in the East Coast. I came to LA to like try and find my dreams and everything.
Okay, well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Let me stay before the seed was born, before you were born. So do you know why they wanted to come here? Was it just I think like most of the traditional thing is, better opportunity, life, it's hard in the Philippines. Were they the first to come here? So are you like the first, you and your sister, like the first, from here?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, man. So I want to date it back. I think, the Philippines was like a U.S. colony, like way back in the day. So my grandpa and great grandpa got U.S. citizenship by joining the army there.
Okay.
And then it wasn't until like my mom and dad were older, they were like in their 20s when they moved out here. And that was it. That was just to try and make a better life for themselves.
Why? Do you know why Virginia was there a relative here? Why? VA?
They actually moved to Chicago first.
Okay.
And that reason I don't know.
Okay.
I know that my parents moved to Virginia because my mom got a residency there, and
okay.
she attended Georgetown University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they were here for a while before you were born.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious, leading into when you were born, and all of that. So they came over, and then she went to Georgia. Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had to do her residency there. I mean, she went to college in the Philippines, but she just had to do like some extra work and stuff.
Yeah.
My dad was hustling and grinding while she was doing that, and like kind of made his way up in his career of engineering. And like, I can't say why they first moved to Chicago. I don't actually know.
Well, there's a lot of Filipinos in Chi-Town.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like pockets. So it doesn't surprise me as a Filipino pocket of where they would come and all that.
Yeah, it's just funny because like at least Virginia is like near the water, the ocean or something like.
Now you can ask that though. What you can ask mom and dad, hey, next time you see him, like why Chi-Town? And then
I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah. So you come to VA. You end up in VA. And so did they tell you what was happening before you came into the picture? And let's cover baby Tony between or baby. Was it Anthony Francisco Marquez? That's your
Antonio.
Tell me what. Let me talk about baby Antonio, because that's your birth name. That's what your mama gave you.
Oh, yep.
What would they tell me about baby Antonio? The year you were born, from baby to like 5 years old. What you were into? What did you remember them telling you about your young self and growing up? And I'm assuming you lived in VA all your life before you moved out to LA.
Yeah.
All right. So growing up in VA, baby Antonio, tell me about that.
Man, I could tell you that I was being raised by everybody, like it has to be like in Filipino culture. Like you're getting this your uncle, this your tita, this your tito. And I'm like, oh, but then again, I'm like, are they really?
Exactly.
Or I'm just calling you, I gotta do the mano, the hand, everything. But like, yeah, because like my parents were definitely like career focused, really trying to put the bread on the table and everything. So we had like mad people from like my cousins to come babysit me, my auntie, my uncle, and everything. So definitely from like birth to like 5, 10, even, like it was just like different babysitters after babysitters. My older sisters, there's a pretty good gap between us. So they were also played like older sister / older like other mom too. Like they were trying to like take care of me and stuff like that. So I would say like I was definitely an active kid. I was always just trying to run around, but with different people caretaking for you, like you kind of have to, I think, find stuff that you're into, because like if the situation is always going to change,
Yeah.
And I think that it was always like cartoons and like TV, video games, like all the nerdy stuff. Like I was just like loving it.
So already maybe the sparks of creativity like were there, or also trying to figure that out. Like when you would discover something that would then, okay, I want to do this for a living. So really just real kid stuff, because it's really difficult baby to 5 to kind of gauge. But sometimes like, well, I had a music artist that would they're pushing them to sing at such a young age, and then you could see that seed growing into him becoming a singer later on. So kind of still kind of kid-ish left at that time. Baby to 5. So let's move to 5 to 10, getting ready to go to actual school. You're now attending school. What do you recall? Did you play any sports? What would your parents tell me, or your sisters, the Ates, tell me about baby Antonio, or 5 to 10 Antonio?
5 to 10, I wasn't playing sports yet.
Okay.
That was later on. But like 5 to 10, it was definitely like my sisters, because I think like they wanted something that we could both engage on, you know?
Okay.
So it always was like arts and crafts, and like not like Bob Ross, but I feel like there's like stuff catered to kids at that age.
Okay.
I was always just like watching the TV and drawing along with. It wasn't Bob Ross. I don't remember what the name was, but it was one of those like follow along and like,
yeah,
you know, I'm gonna like draw this and then paper cut that and stuff like that. So it was more like arts and crafts. 5 to 10. That was like with my sisters for sure.
All right. So you were getting into that a little bit, or were you pushing away? Like, do you recall like stuff that you didn't like or anything, or that you were kind of being forced to maybe do that in a way, or you were okay with it because you're spending time with your siblings?
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
I think the only thing I could say that I didn't like is like siblings can be mean and stuff like that too. Like being criticized. Oh, that's not good. And I'm like, well, I was trying, man. you know what I mean? Like I think every brother-sister relationship you could like relate to that. And I'm like, well, damn, you don't gotta be mean about it. But I'm doing it with them, right? Like, and I wanted to be with the older kids, right? I wanted to be cool like that, I guess. I remember one of the things too was like for Easter Sunday, you know, like that's big for us. Like I was helping decorate with all the kids, like all the eggs and stuff like that. And then the older kids were like staying up, but you know, the moms and dads and everything, they're doing their own thing. So they assigned it to the older kids. So like, hey, go hide the eggs for the little ones. And like me wanting to be cool with the older kids was like trying to stay up late and seeing what they're doing. They might be like drinking or something like that. I don't know. I'm not gonna say nothing, but I'd be like, hey, trying to stay up and be like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, they were hiding the eggs, right? And I was like, well, why? I want to do that too. And then they're like, okay. So they started hiding the eggs. And I remember the next morning, all the kids my age started looking for the eggs. And I started looking and I was like, it's all the eggs that I hid. And I was like, is there any other eggs out there? And they're like, oh, you were just helping the bunny, man. Like, you're cool. So no, like I was always into those arts and crafts and like, you know, trying to be with the older crowd, I guess. But no, 5 to 10 was definitely arts and crafts for sure.
Okay. I dig that. All right. So also 5 to 10, we're starting school for this first time, right? We're now becoming a little bit more self-aware. We're not, you know, we're kids, you know, you don't remember stuff when you're a baby, but you're learning the world, you're exploring the world. What do you recall for yourself? What are some of your earliest memories before we, you know, get into like 11 to 15 range, but between that baby to 10, where you're learning your possibly different, you know, I don't know, you grew up a lot around, did you grow up around other, well, you said a lot of other aunties, uncles, so was it a Filipino community? Were you experiencing prejudice for the first time? Like, you know, from outside, were you becoming self-aware in that regard? Tell me about the person, Tony himself, you know, because I'm sure a lot of these different factors and seeds would be in FilAm later. If not, you know, definitely when you get into the 11 and 15, I know we'll have more of those seeds pop into the FilAm stuff. But talk to me about that in like, as a person, as a human being, in the 1 to 10 range of, you know, your parents and, you know, all of that.
Yeah. So my best friend growing up, like in elementary school, his name is Akeem Perry. We, just because of moving and stuff, we lost touch, but we still like follow each other and whatever. But he's the black guy, and him and I became best friends like right off the jump. First grade, And I remember how it happened. Like he was a new transfer student, and my teacher, for whatever reason, my teacher came up to me and was like, "Hey, we have a new student. You should go be his friend." And I was just like, "Yeah, okay." Like I don't know, you know, I'm like young and like energetic, so I was just like, "Hey, what's up? Let's be friends." And I think it was one of those things. You start to see like, oh, you're different because he was black, I'm brown, but we also kind of related with each other. And then it's just like a funny thing of that time in the 90s of Rush Hour came out, the movie, and that was like our jam, dude. Like Rush Hour 1, Rush Hour 2, and we're kids, right? And we're watching these movies that are PG-13 and stuff that we can't comprehend. But I mean, there's a ton of racist jokes in there, but like it's hard to say because like in today's like PC kind of like world, I'm like, I don't know. They're supposed to be making a new one, so we'll see how it comes out. But like back in the day, like those jokes were funny, but it was like kind of understood. It's like
Yeah.
you know? So like I think I started to realize like, yeah, there are some differences, and especially you start to have like some sleepovers with like different friends, and there's like smells, there's like different foods of like other people. And I said earlier, kids are mean, but also kids can also just be like, things just go over their heads. So like,
Oh yeah.
you also do start to like, you start to pick it up. I don't want to say like with this age range, but like later on for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It's just the opening salvos, man. I think it's so important, you know, and then just becoming socially aware, and it just seeds of a person, and then how it sprouts and how you react to that. Because sometimes, you know, like we were talking Rush Hour back then, you know, perception, and now it's kind of like bad. But at the same time, I think it's just a different time. But there was a cognizance that it wasn't about the negativity. It was more so a partnership, despite how it could be gleamed as negative right now. It was more so a partnership and familiarity and collaboration in a lot of different ways. So was religion a thing as well? I grew up very Catholic Christian, but then I found myself in other different ways. Did that enter in between 1 and 10?
Yeah, so I don't know if you caught it in the film, but like in the kitchen, we did sprinkle like the crucifix and stuff like that. So we just put it like there subtly because it was, again, if I opened that door, it would have just become like a bigger thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so elementary, and I went to public school, but then in high school, I was transferred to a private high school, a Catholic school, Bishop Ireton up in Alexandria, Virginia. So I did go to Catholic school, and actually I would say like if we could jump ahead to that, that's when it really became like apparent of like being
okay.
different.
All right. So we'll get to 11 to 15 then. 11 to 15. We're now in middle school, maybe, you know, early high school. Let's go there. What are some of your memories in that range before we get to that stuff? Did we discover sports now, or were we playing sports?
Yeah, middle school is definitely okay, so I wouldn't say that I embraced Filipino culture. I think that's when it was like introduced. That's when I started playing basketball. I was like, you know, in like the youth clubs. That's when I joined like the Filipino basketball club, and everything like that. And then that's when I started. There was a group, KayFabeyBaby, if you're familiar with that. So that's when my parents were taking me to like those events, and that's when I started dancing like the tinkling and things like that. So I was up in there, I was being exposed to a lot of it. And I think that's when, you know, the gears start turning, because I'm being exposed to it more of like, oh, okay, so I am Filipino. And, you know, you get introduced to it, you start to like question it. And I think that's definitely like when I started to question like, oh, these other kids are speaking Tagalog or something, and like they'd come up to me and I'm like, oh, I can't speak, so I couldn't join in on the fun or something, or what they were talking about or something, or being at KayFabeyBaby or like a big grand Filipino parties. And every Filipino person will know, like, those parties can get like, big. They're lit sometimes. Dancing, like buffets, drinking. But when you're like at that age and you can't speak or you can't understand sometimes, and like there's a lot of chit chatter, that's when you start to, I mean, at least for me, like I start to feel kind of like a little isolated. But you also start to realize like, oh, like there's a gap between us, and I am different from them who are like the older generation, but I'm also different from those kids who kind of learned, you know? And I think that's when you start to kind of just try and find your place and start to fit in, which, reverting back to the film, JP, the main character, when we wrote him originally, I guess because it was just like, sometimes you write what you know. And I was like kind of writing him as an older person because like, this is how I'm talking right now. Right. But then I had to like actually go back and be like, well, when was the time that I was actually kind of figuring shit out, right? So we made him a younger, like preteen, teenager kid that to be self-aware of everything that was happening.
Yeah, so important, so important. Thank you for sharing that. And those connections again with our art. So 11:15, we're going to these different gatherings and feeling a little self-aware, a little bit of an outcast. I that was very much my journey as well. I never learned Tagalog. The only thing I learned was like curse words and certain things, you know. That's what we picked up on. And it was something that hurt. I'll be honest, you know, that, you know, because you wanted to connect more at these parties, at these gatherings, and just feel a part of it, you know. And it was hard, just like your character. That's a great moment, and I don't want to spoil it for the people that haven't seen it yet, but just thinking, okay, I need to put this on so that way the rest of the people can connect with me. But little that just a great moment in your film, by the way. So kudos to you, brother, that you don't need to do those things to be connected with the culture. Yeah, man. So that was rather touching. So 11:15. Anything else outside of that, learning wise, experience wise? Did you know what you wanted to do between 11 and 15? Because we're still in like middle school, like high school. You know, it's high school where we're supposed to figure ourselves out, but I think we're still figuring ourselves out.
Yeah, like,
especially as creatives.
Timetable out.
You know, do you know what you wanted to do at that time, or what were you into?
11 through 15? No, man, I was focused on like basketball and like.
Where you want to be like the next, like I'm an older head, so I'm gonna say like Michael Jordan. I guess LeBron, where you like, oh, I want to be the next LeBron, or were you already cognizant? Yeah, I'm Filipino, I'm too short.
I mean, my time
on that dream.
I was a Kobe guy, so that was my time.
Okay.
Oh, so I was just like buying his shoes and everything. So yeah, like I wanted to play with everybody, just going to open gym runs and stuff, and prepping for like, you know, the high school players and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right. So 15 to 20. You know, let's get into the late middle school, high school years, college. Big evolutionary jump where you as a person, knowing yourself, cognizant of everything, family, life. Tell me about that. And here, you grew up here in Virginia, and you said you went to a Catholic school, Ireton.
Yeah, Bishop Ireton up in Alexandria. That's definitely when like I felt the most like aware of everything, because, you know, like I don't know why, I mean, like you know, but it was definitely like a mostly white school, and I didn't, and it was just funny how it kind of like happened, but it just is like, it's just the truth of it. It's like it was like a mostly white school, and all of us like colored folk, whether it's the blacks, the Spanish, the Asians, like just kind of like grouped together because you felt closer to them, you felt like you could relate, and those were most of my friends. In the film we have like a black kid kind of teasing JP, and a white kid who kind of teases him in like a kind of outlandish kind of way. And that's kind of how it felt growing up. Like and there's a part of it where there is like boys will be boys. Sometimes you're just trash talking on the court, or shoot, if you just hop on like a Call of Duty like thing, you're gonna hear some wild stuff. But there was always kind of like a respect with like the black kids, the Asian kids and stuff. Like even if you teased each other, it just felt like we kind of understood or something. But like if like the white person like said something to us, it was just like, yo, what the fuck? Like whoa. Like that was kind of messed up. I don't know. And maybe it was just like a numbers thing because there were so many white people, and you just felt like and that's not a knock on them. Like I said, my writer's white. Like it's like respect and love. It's, just be peaceful. But it was at that age and time. It's just how it felt. I didn't know what I wanted to do yet at all. But it was when I started. It was the first time I got involved in filmmaking. Was in high school. I took an editing course. I end that dream. I took a course in high school, and I started covering events like sporting events, dance events, and stuff like that. And I got more in tune with like a hip hop culture, because when I stopped playing basketball, I got involved with like cameras, editing, and I joined like the dance groups, since I had like some small dance background with the Filipino stuff. And at those parties, there was always like some older heads who were like b-boying and stuff like that. So I connected with that, which also in hip hop, it's kind of like, a broader range of people and cultures coming together, and something that I kind of felt I lacked in private school. So I went to these hip hop events when they were just talking about like one love, one culture, and
community. You felt community.
Yeah, the community and stuff like that. So, and I would say like that helped me transcend into the arts. I would say was the hip hop culture of it. So in a weird way, I went to like a mostly white school for Catholic school, which led me to finding hip hop outside of it. And then all of that art surrounding it is what really pushed me and drove me to continue in this type of field in a weird roundabout way.
Yeah. No worries. So were there any incidents that happened at Ironton that provoked it, or just it was just a cognizance and just a unspoken vibe, if you will, that just it was hard to connect, and then you yearn for when you feel like you're in a glass bowl, like a fish, and you feel like you're being watched in different ways. So you seek, companionship, and then you could find community elsewhere if you weren't getting community there. I know I put my daughter actually in a private school initially when she was younger, because when you think, I think like all Filipinos, we think, that they're better funded, because we're paying a lot for them to go to that school, better education and all that. But then little do we know that she's, one of few. And so they're all going to look at her and make her feel a different way. And that hurt my daughter in a lot of different respects. So we were like, okay, we pulled you out. She went to another art school that was more well-versed in cultural. So to you, I'm sorry but I can relate to those points. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, because like you said, like my parents, same thing, like it's supposed to be a better school, a better education, all of that. But like, and I think in today's society, it as a whole, it's getting more relevant of like mental health and everything. It's just like what it does to a kid when you feel a little isolated. I can't pinpoint any like specific, any like racial moment or anything, but like you said, it was just there, and it was spoken. And there were times like all right, we're gonna play 5-on-5 basketball, and like and for what I'm like, it was just like this was outright spoken. We're like, we're gonna do like the white guys versus the colored guys. And I'll just like, I think back at it as a kid, I'm like, that's so messed up, but like we all agreed to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, those little microaggressions, dude.
Yeah.
That it doesn't until later. It's crazy. Well, I'm happy you're thriving and surviving despite all of that. Obviously, because you're now Mr. Tony Marquez with an amazing short film right now that's helping other people. But yeah, it's those experiences that we put into our art to help speak and let everybody know that they're seen, which I think is so important. It's important to talk on it so people know that, yeah, I went through it too. You're not the only one. So don't, because some of I'm sure I don't know about you, but I've had friends that we lost who didn't survive those situations. They did something because they couldn't take it. And if we could show them that everyone is going through it and that combined strength of survival through those situations, it's going to help so many people. So thank you for sharing, Tony. All right. So we're in that 15 to 20. We're in high school, getting ready to go to college. We went through that situation at Ireton, and then we find community. We start getting into the arts here. But we're right before we graduate, though. You had a mom who was in the medical field, father engineering field, getting ready to graduate. I know we spoke about you went to GMU. I don't know what you chose to degree. We'll get into that in a second. But what were your thoughts? What did Tony Marquez want to do with graduating high school? And then figure out where he wanted to go, or did you know if you wanted to go, or were you pushed by your parents? Because it's that eternal struggle of, okay, you're gonna go somewhere, you're military, you're gonna do something, right? But they also want us to go that engineering doctor route, and you actually had that in your mom and dad. So was that a thing, or did tell me about graduating, Tony and Antonio? I'm gonna call you, but what your mom called you. What was graduating at Antonio Marquez wanting to do? What did you envision at that time? And then tell me, going to GMU and then digging more. GMU has a great arts program there. I've actually done a lot of work with film students there as well. I wonder if I might have ran into you at some point.
You probably did, man.
Tell me about that situation.
No, man, in truth, like I still had no idea what I was doing. Like, because I think there's a thing too where if you're being pushed in one direction or a certain direction as a kid, you're like, I don't want to let my parents down, but also you start to kind of pigeonhole yourself of like, well, maybe there is an opportunity of making it in this direction and I should do that or something, but you feel torn. So I had no idea what I was doing. My older sister, she went to George Mason, so it was kind of like I should apply there. And I did apply to all of the in-state schools because, money and everything. And I did go with George Mason. Like I said, my older sister went there. It is a little closer to home. And it was just comfortable with everything. And, I have my own family situation of where everyone's at. It was just nice that I could have that safety blanket of I could just go home if I need to. Living in a dorm, I could just peace out kind of deal. But yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I actually took a couple business classes my freshman year. I was taking like the generals, but every semester from like sophomore year of high school to it's not sophomore, junior year of high school to senior year of high school, freshman year of college, sophomore year of college, I was always taking some film elective. I was just always there, sprinkled in. I was just like, it was there, editing and then shooting and then like lighting. And it wasn't until second semester of my sophomore year where my advisor was like, you have to pick a major. Like, you're at that, you have to pick a major. And I was like, I really don't know what I want to do. And I was like, I'm not doing good at these business classes. I flunked. That was the first F I got in my whole life, first and only. And I was like, that is not for me. But my advisor was like, look, you took all of these classes, you've kind of excelled in all of them. And looking back, like you've been doing it since high school. Why are you not just majoring in this? And I was like, well, what am I going to do with it? My parents, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, what kind of job? I think this is just fun. I don't live in Hollywood, you know? And my advisor was like, look, you should talk with these professors, and then like, here's a listing of like, let me just show you a listing of jobs here in the DMV. And then I was like, I didn't even realize like Discovery Networks is here. And then like, you know, in like Baltimore, there's a huge film scene and art scene. And then just going into the city itself, like there's like the Women in Film DC, and like all of these different organizations that I was not aware of, right? So within this time, I did pick my major. I said, you're right, I've taken all the courses, let's go for it. And then I started to venture out into the city a lot more, just going into DC by myself. Like, you know, like freshman year, like I partied. I really did. I partied hard. Like I won't even lie. Sorry, mom. Sorry, dad. like, but you know, it was great. I met people. I had fun. But then once I chose my major, and like you kind of have that internal of like, well, what am I gonna do? I don't want to let my parents down, but like also more important, like I don't want to let myself down. Like, what am I doing with my life? I started going out into the city and finding these organizations and doing this, getting my hands on cameras, crewing up. You know, at the time, House of Cards was filming in DC. So like, you know, there was different stuff going on. And then I started to like, again, going back into the networking factor of, I started talking to my professors in a more like personable way of not like professor student, but I was just like, what did you do? You know, like question, like, what was your path? How did you do this? What are you doing now? And then it turns out like, you know, it's like my professors were still grinding. And like, I don't think that the normal student would know that if they didn't ask. So they're like, well, if you're interested, I'm doing this job. My professors were hiring me outside of class, which I don't even know if it's legal, but you know.
That's dope though. I love that. That's dope.
You know, I'm an adult, I can sign my paperwork, but they're like, yeah, let's go shoot this thing. Or my professor was like, I'm trying to make a little film for myself, documentary. And like, I mean, like, I'll help you, you know, help me help you, or like, help me by letting me help you kind of deal. And then it just kind of kicked off from there, man. So school was one thing to like learn the fundamentals, but I think like every filmmaker, artist, like you have to go outside of that and just kind of like see what's out there for yourself.
Definitely agree. Thank you for sharing again, brother. So important, man. Getting that foundation, speaking, communicating, believing in yourself, and and then to have the right people that are willing to give back and impart the knowledge, whether it be your professor and you know, maybe take you out to the side and do a job. And I think it's a beautiful thing. All right.
Can I say one last thing is like, I do want to just like pay my respects to George Mason University, you know, because I'm out here in LA now, and like, you know, I didn't go to like the USCs of the world or the New York Film Academies, right? But I think George Mason did a great job of, like I said, the fundamentals and learning the tools and just the work ethic. So anyone out there who thinks they're like not at a prestige film school or whatever like that, like it's what you put in, you know?
Completely agree, man. Shout out to GMU, the Patriots. I've done many a project out that way, and with a lot of young cats there. It doesn't matter where your beginnings are at. It's all a journey. So props, bro, and props to GMU, of course. All right, so we're getting ready to graduate. We're in film school. Well, actually, we're at GMU. Actually, before we even brave enough to go, let's not graduate yet. Let me not take you aside of the graduate. Let me pull it back. Outside of just, you know, the craft, learning your craft, and in that regard, while you were there, getting that foundation, tell me about your evolution as a person, in regards to like awareness with the people, the culture. Did you know more about yourself that I don't know, that would feed into your writing and all of that, into the things you want to do, that inspired you, or what is the message you want to do with your arts and creativity? So you learn more about the arts and then the actual business side of it, but actually, we talked a lot of technical stuff, but we didn't, through your journey, but not like what you actually want to say with your art. So I'm kind of curious if college played a part in there, and then we'll venture forward to, because it's not soon that we're getting to your now, because we leave PMU for LA. I'm just curious, what were some of the things you experienced and you want to put into the art?
Well, during that time, I wouldn't say I knew what I wanted to say. I could cut to like a couple, we'll get to it, right? But I like, it does do a full circle, I would say. So, college is fun. College can be fun, but you are getting to like adulthood and stuff, and some things can be hard. At that time, like my parents were finalizing their divorce. One of my good friends, like his dad just passed away. And like there were like some other things that were just like kind of happening that's part of life. But it's hard nonetheless. And I would say it was always when something hard came about that I would turn to like my notebook to just like journal, and like I would go out with my camera just to like shoot things. And a lot of the stuff became like cathartic, and it was just like therapeutic. Like, how can I get away from the stuff that's bothering me, but not necessarily even like get away from it, but really just like internalize it? How can I like get through it? Cause like with like sports or something, like I could work out and like just get some aggression out or something, but that something inside is still like lingering. So I started to turn to writing, or like using my like camera and lens to just like shoot stuff and like try and like emote things and like have things relate. But again, at the time I didn't know that. My senior thesis project though at George Mason was actually with what I aforementioned, my friend's dad passing. And he actually majored in poetry writing, and he wrote a poem about his dad. And then I took that poem and I asked him for permission, of course, but was like, yo, can I take this poem and flesh it out into a screenplay about you and your dad? Which he did. And I think I took that process of like empathizing with somebody else, like another human being, and just like taking that story and like creating it visually for others to see. And that helped me kind of, one, get closer to him, but two, you come to an understanding of something, right? Instead of just like kind of judging a person for being sad. You're like, well, why are they sad? And then you start to learn like the differences of like sympathizing versus empathizing. Like, I'm not just like saying, oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to like figure out like why, and like how can I also be there with you. And I should mention that my minor at George Mason was in psychology too. So I didn't realize what I was doing exactly, I think, but it kind of like all came together. Because at first, like when I'm learning about film and everything, I wanted to do like the grander stuff of like these action and like like the big Marvel stuff, Hollywood stuff. The Dark Knight was huge at that time. That was still one of my favorite movies. But if I cut to now, post graduation stuff, yeah, like can I get into this?
let's go.
Yeah. Pandemic hits, right? Changes everybody's like perspective on life, really. I got into a Sundance program during the pandemic, a Sundance Master Core class, directing master class, where the pandemic was happening and the Black Lives Matter movement was happening, and Asian hate crime was happening, and it was just like a weird like time of events that everyone I think knows, like that was part of history that like it's going to be in the books. And I got into this program, which was good for me. One, it's Sundance, and two, it's like it felt like going back to school also, to kind of like hone it back in and think about like what I'm doing. And we got this assignment where every student got the same script, right? But there was no description in anything. It was just two people talking. So it was just like line after line after line. And we, as the director, had to think of like, well, what's their backstory? What are they talking about? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember at the time thinking of everything that was going on, was just like, it's so rough and everything. And I applied the situations that I was living and the emotions I was feeling into these characters, right? And I developed that story around it, which it ultimately became, it's a short film that's on my website, but it's just two people dealing with like the riots pretty much going on in different ways. Like they deal with it in different ways. But like when I took this course and I like started to like feel like that cathartic process again, I went back to, it took me back to George Mason and to my senior thesis film about empathizing with my friend. And I think that's how I thought like, well, this is truly what I want to do and say, is like get stories that can relate to other people and you know, have people like connect through this medium. So then after that is when I started to do FilAm, and I think that's just kind of like the journey of my voice and directorial work.
Wow. Love that. Man, that's beautiful. Let me bring it a little bit back, because we want to stay in this. We're in this zone now because we're in the now. But I'm curious. I always like to plug it. We always one of the like things in ShoPowSho with our journeys is, you know, what did your parents think about whether you like the arts, because they want to steer us in a direction, right? But we already covered, you know, you chose your major, and you're in college. But I'm sure when you said, "Hey, I want to move out to LA," I wanted to throw it back to that and their thoughts. So what was graduation like? And then you chose this as your major or whatever, right? I'm curious just their thoughts. Not that it matters, you know, and I'm sure hopefully they know who you are. And I think you also said you like your parents were in a divorce. And I'm sure that plays a part into all of this as well. But what do they feel now? Because I think you're an amazing cat, you know, but let's be honest, not everybody supports our journeys and what we want to do. Right. May still not be, but, you know, we're still living our lives. We have to live for ourselves, you know, we're as adults. So just to throw that in there, I'm curious, because I know a lot of people relate to this story right now that you're sharing. Right.
I mean, it was hard. Like I had to like be self-determined for it, because I wouldn't say that my parents were outright disapproving me going through this major or moving to LA, but they definitely had their reservations. They always were questioning about like money and like retirement and stuff like that. And now, you know, when I'm 20, I'm like, retirement, I'm just getting started, you know. I'm like, I don't know the answers. And they want to know, like they wanted to know right away of like, what's the plan? What's like the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan? What about when you have kids? And I'm like, I don't have that at all. Like I still kind of don't sometimes when I think about it.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's okay to everybody watching too. That's okay.
For sure. But I think it's one of those things where I said it earlier, where like, I didn't want to let my parents down, but bigger than that, I didn't want to let myself down. It was like, I think once I started to figure things out and like, you know, got the jobs or like found the way of like making something work, they started to let go little by little by little. And I wouldn't say it was definitely not overnight, you know, because moving to LA at first, I had no connections out here. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a foot in the door. And as I said earlier, no one in my family was in the arts. So I lost a lot of my savings. I was driving Uber and Lyft, and I was grinding, man. And at each.
You know what? Let's not throw any shade at all of that. I think that's so important. And like, let's give pro tips of surviving. Like, let's give some people some path. Like, what did you do? What was some of this mix to make this happen? Uber, Lyft, all of that. Like, that's important.
And I want to say, like, to come to a new city and start driving Uber Lyfts, that was awesome. I started like finding new paths to places.
Yeah.
And I was talking, sometimes you got the people who you didn't want to talk to, but sometimes I was talking to people and they'd be like, you got to check out this spot. You got to check out that spot. Oh, you're new here? Well, blah, 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 blah. And then sometimes some passenger was in the industry and they'd be like, hey, yeah. And it really just is one of those things of like, you don't know who somebody is, right? And it's a small town. So I was, Uber lifting. I was taking like some small, sometimes free work, man. Sometimes I was doing work for free. And it's one of those things that happens more often in the arts, right? Like, hey, we're just doing this, and it's a passion project. Like mine was a passion project. So some of my friends joined in for free or for low pay. So, and I was doing that with people who I didn't even know. And one thing leads to another, And I also did the old school. I got props for this. I can't say like if it's like not a thing anymore, but I went on Google and was just like looking at production companies. Not like the big ones, not like Warner Brothers or something, but like just like, oh, what are the other production companies in the area? And in between driving Lyft and Ubers, I was printing out my resume. I was walking in the door, knocking, like, hey, I'm new. And I got props for that because they're like, hey, nobody does that anymore. And I was just like, really? Because I don't know how to get a job. Like I got nothing.
That's hustle, bro. I love it.
Yeah, I was just like, because I don't know how to even find my way. Like, can you hook me up? And like some said no, right? You get your rejection, but then one out of like how many 10 times, right? Someone was like, all right, yeah, well, we got this like small gig, like try it out, or it would be something shitty. And like I said, one of those led to another, and then one led to another, and then it just kept going. And then I want to say is like something that I always heard in school. It's like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But then somebody out here broke it down to me even further, and it stuck with me. So they're like, it's not really what you know, it's who you know. But if you take it a step further, it's who knows you, right? Because then like once your name starts getting spread across like the grapevine, then I started getting calls from people I don't know. I've never heard of them. I never met them. They're like, are you available? And then the answer is yes.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Dope. All right, man. Thank you again for sharing all that. And it's gonna help everybody, man. You know, just like the projects that we do, and we put ourselves into those stories, you know, in different ways. You know, there's nuggets of all of us in our projects that we do as filmmakers, creatives. I dig that. So yeah, we're here now. Pandemic, you know, I was like, hold on, did I cover all my bases? We're pandemic, we're inspired, we have a message of what we want to do with our work. FilAm is born during this time. We get the people going. So you know, we're getting towards the curtail end, you know, because we're now in the pushing and promotion of FilAm, which we did earlier at the start of the interview. But I know there's so much more you're doing, and through all the hustle, let's not forget about these wins. I pulled up your IMDb, bro. You know, fucking Young Sheldon. You worked on Rebel Moon, which I'm really looking forward to, by the way. Tell me about how this hustle paid off, you know, doing all what you did. And then these you crewing now. What is my brother Tony Marquez now doing, and how can we build you out more, you know, in the community? And you know, again, anybody I know or anybody I've had on ShoPowSho, if you want to holla at him, man, you know, let me know. It's building community, brother.
Yes, sir. I mean, well, right now is hard. Obviously, if you guys you got to be aware of like the whole strike situation in WGA. Pay the writers, man. We got to pay the writers. And SAG and everything. So right now times are tough. I'm kind of working in the commercial industry right now, like working on some commercials. Most recently, like I elevated from production assistant to assistant directing. now, eligible to join the guild, Directors Guild of America. So hopping on that path. But to talk about like those shows that I worked on, it's just going back to, so what happened was I took a low paying job on an independent web series, because web series were hot for like a while. And I was crewing there, and this was before any of the bigger shows. I was crewing on it, just working hard, doing like the best I could. It was like, I don't know, man, like $50 plus like lunch, you know? But the director for that was a DGA member, and worked on some bigger shows. He liked me, and it was one of those things again, like I was like, yo, I'm really just trying to get my foot in the door. And he was like, okay, cool, I'll call you. Don't hear from him for like 4 months. And he was just like, are you free to work this week? And I was just like, yep. And then he was like, cool, do a good job for that. And he was like, hey, I'm gonna pass your name to this person. And I was like, okay. And that was it. And then once my first staffed PA job was on Criminal Minds. So I like did the last couple seasons on that show. And then there was someone from that show who was like, hey, they're looking for people for Young Sheldon. Do you want an interview? And I was just like, sure. And that was a funny process. Like, because little did I know, the person who asked me that asked my other buddies that too. So we showed up, we figured it out basically. And then like the 5 of us met up at this bar that was across the street from the coffee shop that they were interviewing people at. And then we'd go interview, and then the next person would go and just meet up at the bar and talk about our experience. We're just like, all right, well, good luck to the rest of y'all, and like cheers and toast. And I want to say like it was really great that I got on Young Sheldon. Personally, going from Criminal Minds to Young Sheldon, not a knock on anything, but I loved Young Sheldon. Like I do still feel like I'm a big kid at heart. That was one of the things they asked me, like, are you good with kids, blah, blah, blah. And I want to say, like, in this world, like, you do got to, get in where you fit in, right? So I ran with that show. They took me as long as I could, until I was ready to elevate to the next level. And then it was just through that of meeting people and going to different stuff. So yeah, and Rebel Moon was the last thing I did as a PA, because I knew a lot of the people on that, from Young Sheldon actually. And it was just a good time. So it's just a snowball effect for anyone out there who's trying to break their foot in the door. It's going to be hard. It's tough, but if you grind it out and, you have a good work ethic, it's just a small town. And once you get going, like, it's a snowball.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Don't ever lose the heart and the passion and the love. It can be difficult. You got to get used, bro. As an actor, 85% knows. Actually, I'll go 95. It's that little 5% that we yearn for and we get that just makes it all worth the 95% of rejection. And it's the same way on the other side of the camera as well. Right. Whether a union cat or non-union, just all of that. It's same on the other side. I'm a union actor. Shout out to SAG-AFTRA again. Pay your actors as well as the Writers Guild as well. It's a weird and wild time right now, and I know people leaving LA despite it, and that's so sad to see. But there's still a lot of people that are fighting right now. It's hard. So man, I just want to support everything you're doing, brother. We got FilAm out there. What would you say as we're getting this end here? I'm trying to think of if there's any other questions I want to find out and impart, and give knowledge to the people, because you're giving so many amazing gems and sharing your experience, which is so beautiful. I think that relatability that will connect with people is what would you say? Would you say your top lessons learned now, from out to LA to now? What would be your top 3 you would tell somebody right now that really benefited you? And it doesn't have to be like with the actual work. Maybe it could be like a physical, your mindset. What do you think is just the 3 important things are carrying you through right now with what you're doing and your goals?
Overarching, I'd say like balance. You have to find a type of balance, because it is a grind. Whatever it is that that can take you away from the grind, I think helps. Like if it's working out, yoga, something like that. You have to have something outside of the industry, I think, to balance yourself out. Because if you're just like in this the whole time, I think it'll drive you crazy. For me personally, like I love everything about it, but I do need to find stuff outside of it, with therapy, reading, something else. And also I think it couples with your art too, because it helps you be more well-rounded. You can tell better stories to connect with others if you're doing stuff outside of it all too. So I think finding your outlet in your hobbies, I think, is very important. And then going back to the networking again, of just being kind to everybody. I mean, I think that's just like a good thing to be as a human being. Just like be kind, like be helpful. Like once you get in this industry, as you know, like you're gonna meet so many different personalities, so many different people, and the hours are long. So people are gonna want to be with people who they genuinely can tolerate and like, you know. So
Yes.
just like, you know, be a kind person. And third, I mean, I think this is like a broader but kind of still in like a self personal thing, is like it's just like just find your voice, you know. It took me a while. I'm still in that, right? And I think it's going to be an ongoing process, but like find your voice for whatever it is. I mean, it's going to help you, whether if you're a director, writer, actor, camera, like whatever it is, like finding your voice and what you believe in, I think it's just always going to be beneficial.
Dope. I love that. Agree with all of them. Let me segue with the networking one to like, you know, again, we're getting to the end. Is the networking, and we're a Filipino podcast. We are sharing our Filipino experience, our combined experience, but also community. That also, to bring it back to the very beginning of this, FilAm, your amazing short film that is here because of the support of community, and also is going to help the community in the long run, the next generation, for what it's entailing in its story. Can you tell me, you know, you had that support with FilAm, and now, you know, you're getting the reception from the festivals and everything, and now moving forward with that, what you want to do for the FilAm community, is that any goals in your work, and what, tell me about if that is goal, and also just other goals. What do we want? What does Tony Marquez want to do? Does Tony Marquez want to work on that Dark Knight film or Marvel film? Well, what are just some of the stories that you would like to do with your work? And again, we're going to be supporting you on this journey, man. For those that are just now getting introduced to you and me chumming it up with you. And I look forward to, you know, hopefully future conversations with us, hopefully on a film set as well together. What can we talk about that you want to do so we can chart this dream?
Yeah. So after FilAm, I've been still like in contact with those organizations that have, like, you know, helped me out, trying to get more involved in the community of volunteering and just like being out there and, you know, representing and just like doing well in the community. In terms of like filmmaking and everything like that, I think I just want more representation. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be necessarily like a Filipino story. I think once we get into the range of like, this person's Filipino, but they're just in on screen, you know, I think that's when we get to like the bigger wins. Because, you know, I think, you know, there's a lot of like racial films out there that are like, this is like, I made FilAm, right? And that's a Filipino based story, and of course they have Filipino actors and people behind the scenes of it. But I think once we get to the point where there's actors like you on screen, but they don't have to like hold the tropes or the jokes about it.
Yes.
That's when we like got the win. So
yes,
my goal is to like continue to share stories. I have some other like shorts that are like on the horizon, and just having those people on screen represented and stuff like that. The next one is not necessarily Filipino based, but it kind of is, because it's still about like my family. Can I talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Feel free.
Yeah. So like I got this next short that's coming. It's already written. We're getting fiscal sponsorship for it. and like trying to find funding and a different path. We're like looking at grants and stuff. Because it is it's titled Sundown. Be on the lookout. It's about a caretaker and the dementia patient that she cares for. And like I said, it's not like a strictly Filipino-based film, but when you couple it with like family ties and like how important family is with the Filipino culture and like how heavily based we are in the health industry, it does. But for the visual aspect of it, it's not like in your face, like this is a Filipino film, right? But this is how I'm making it, because my mom actually got pretty sick and is suffering with dementia now. And like when I go back home to visit in VA, I watch my sisters like taking care of my mom and stuff like that. So that's how this story came about. So this is the next one, and then and like I want some Filipino people on screen, but it's not gonna be like in your face as FilAm was. And to go further on that is like what I said is once we get to the point where they're just on screen and it doesn't have to like hold the slurs or the tropes or anything like that, that's I think when we as a community have won.
Hell yeah, brother. I'm with you in that 110%. That's part of the burden, if you will, that I think we have as filmmakers in this community of Filipino descent. While that is a goal, it's like you feel somewhat beholden to that. And if you can't, when you want to just be so much more and stuff that gets out there, or when it comes to you, when people try to bring you on stuff, it's too stereotypical. And there's you feel those microaggressions, what I'm saying? Like, nah, so but I thank you for just you doing your part, and I hope that you can get to those points, and I'm looking forward to Sundown. And but beyond your own, like, are there properties you want to work on? Do you want to work on a Dark Knight movie? What else do you want to conquer out there as well?
Yeah, of course I would. I would love to be on it. Like, I mean, it's still just a dream. I see it on the back. Like, Spider-Man was my favorite superhero growing up. Because like he's like your teenage kid who's also just trying to do the right thing. But like, I am a nerd. Like, I just love it. All of that. Like, I play video games. Like, the Last of Us series was something that I thought was incredible from playing that game so many times. So those stories, like, I would love to be part of those things, working on them. I think, as I mentioned before about the top 3 things, it's just like finding your voice. It's probably not what I want to tell and direct, but I would love to be part of, if that makes sense.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, I hope you achieve those goals. If there's anything I can do to help you on your path, please feel free to reach out. And as you do your thing, man, please come back through, tell me and my audience all about it. We want to show love and support, brother. Last question out the gate, how I like to close out, because ShoPowSho is one of my programs under the Nerds Rule the World, my pop culture outlet umbrella. Nerds rule the world, man. I'm a proud card carrying nerd, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We're changing the stereotype that it's cool to be a nerd. If you were to give a TED Talk, a nerd talk, TED style talk on anything, what would it be about? And it can't be about film, because we already know you're a filmmaker. It can't be on the things we kind of know. What could you really go heavy on and like really nerd out on anything that's out there? And it doesn't have to be the traditional pop culture stuff. It could be who did I have on talked about tax law. Like, he could do tax law because he's all about it. There's other people like with just it could be about anything. Like, could you go ham on and just like, man, all about this subject, dare to test me on that. What would you love to talk about that you're really into that people probably don't know about?
Man, I don't know if I would say I'm an expert on it, but I would say I'm like a huge foodie, man. Like, for real, bro. Like, just and my thing is ice cream.
Okay. So what's the top ice cream, man? What is your favorite? Hands down, last meal, last dessert. What would it be?
Oh, it's gonna be cookies and cream.
And cream. By who though? There's certain cookies and cream ain't all the great.
That is true. It's different. I mean, I'm a Ben and Jerry's guy if it's just like to grab and go, but like I'm always up to like find a new ice cream spot, something like that.
Okay.
One of the things, so here's the thing, man. So one of the film shoots and stuff like that, or like travel shoots, whatever. Like I'm sure you know, like people always want to hit the bar afterwards, right? And like
Yeah.
go grab a drink and everything. I've always been the guy to be like, yo, I'm gonna find this local ice cream spot, you know. Like,
I
this is
love
my
that.
spot.
Hell
This is
yeah.
my top spot. I'm gonna tell you guys, you know, don't steal it, or if someone steals it, just give me credit. But I told myself one day, like when I'm making some money, like real good money, I want to make a travel show. And hear me out. It's an ice cream travel show called Rocky Roads. Come on, bro, let's make it.
Count me in.
Yeah.
Yo, you needed some additional producers on that. I'm
do
ready
it,
to go
man.
on a travel food show. Let's go.
Rocky Roads.
Amazing title. Amazing title. Hell yeah. And one of my favorites too, growing up, Rocky Road. My dad was into Rocky Road.
Yeah.
I love that, bro. That's
One of my things. Just like
that is awesome, man. I was trying to think as we were talking. I have a new favorite ice cream brand, and I can't remember the title. I cover with WB, I cover with Warner, Fox, you know, just all the studios. I got towards the end of the season, the holidays, the end of the year, you know, all these studios that, you know, you work with them throughout the year, they'll send you like a little gift thing, you know, and Disney sent me this amazing peppermint like ice cream.
Okay.
That it's a mom and pop company out in LA, California, where you're at. And I haven't ordered from them yet, but they ship all across the world and, you know, all of that. And they're like my new favorite ice cream brand. If I can think of it, I'll text it to you, email it to you. You may want to check it out. Like they became like my new like ice cream brand, bro. So good. They sent me like this box of like 6 different flavors. Amazing. But there's like this peppermint candy cane one that just became my new fave. So anyway, because you're an ice cream head, I thought you'd appreciate that.
Yes.
And if I can find that out, I know I put it to the side because I was like, I'm gonna order from these guys because like that's my new brand. So I'll let you know, and you could probably go to the spot too and check it out since you're an ice cream lover.
You gotta let me know.
All right, we're closing out, brother. Before you tell everybody your handles and all that is, again, it's gonna be in the description below, y'all. Please show love to my brother Kuya Tony Marquez in the comments below, or like his mama called him, Antonio Francisco. I ain't gonna forget that now. I'm gonna fuck with you about that. It's all in the description below. Please show love to my brother Tony, and we'll have him back whenever he's available. But before you throw your handles out, and we'll remind him one more time, I almost forgot this, and I wanted to go back to it. I want to know which team you're on. Is it the Tocino Terminators or the Tocino the Longanese lovers? I don't know what it is. What is your favorite food, Filipino dish? I'm curious.
All right, man. So I gotta be real with you. I'm a breakfast lover. The Longanese lovers, man, like solid every time. And I think, I love that. I get so excited. But I was thinking, man, and then I thought we got to think of a new pun right here.
Okay.
People need to know this one. When you're sick or if you're hungover, some arroz caldo. What can we think of right there, man?
Oh, yes, I love that. But that's real truth right there. That is real truth. Oh, I haven't thought of something to rhyme with a roast caldo.
You gotta get that one going,
man. Good
one. That rice porridge when I'm sick or if I'm hungover.
Yes.
Eat.
That's survival food right there. That's ooh. All right, this is when we're gonna have to brainstorm, y'all. Y'all, if you got suggestions, throw it in the comments.
Let us know.
Hit me up, brother. I'm trying to make shirts. By the way, with all the food talk, just so you know, and I've been talking about this since like episode 5. This is gonna be like episode 115, if I'm not mistaken, your episode. So we've been talking about this for over 110 episodes of like food and like getting shirts out. If we come up with an arroz caldo thing, I'm gonna give you credit for it, and then you'll have to rock the shirt, bro, because we're a part of that arroz caldo.
Yes, please, yeah.
Shirts are on the way, y'all. I'm working on that. It's just time. Love y'all, but we're gonna make that happen. All right, brother. I love that, man. Longanese, I love it too. I'm with you. But you write about Now you got me brainstorming. The mind is thinking. You can't do it as a creative cat. Now I want to think about that. This other brain needs to do professional shit. Brother, how can the people holler at you, man? Reach out to you. Again, it's in the description below, y'all. But for those that might be driving and can remember that, how can people check you out online and all the things?
Yeah, you can catch me on Instagram. Handles tmark223, tmarq223. You can catch me on my website. It's tonyfmarquez.com.
There you go. My love to my man Tony over there, West Coast representing. Also VA, you know, he's still over here. Whenever you come back over here, bro, we gotta connect. I know you said you got some festivals back out this way. If you're out here, man, let's connect, dude. Let's get together. Let's go get some food. We'll go get some food together with Chow Down. Have some fun. That's what we do. So we'll do that. It's a pleasure to speak with you, bro. Mad love to you as you do your thing. I appreciate you sharing your story. I appreciate it for myself. I consider these amazing energy exchanges. It's therapy for me as well to just help and talk with other creatives. It's inspiring for me. And I know it's going to be the same for other people. And I hope it is for you. If you go back and look at this interview, reconnect with yourself and remember yourself for what you've done and your journey. You're doing it. You're killing it. Believe in yourself, man. All my love to you, man. And thank you for sharing your story, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Kuya P. Thank you.
Of course, my man, Tony Marquez. It's your boy, Kuya P. ShoPowSho. We out of here. Make sure you go show him love. Go check out FilAm when it heads your way. And let's continue to support this brother. I appreciate y'all. ShoPowSho. Mahal kita. Salamat.
All right.